Talia from Healer Collective. We represent thought leaders and healers in the consciousness space, and we partnered with WellSet, which is a new platform with profiles where you can book practitioners wherever you are, whether virtually or in person. And we're here today with my friend Hunter, who is amazing. And I'm going to give a quick bio and then let him get to it. Hunter is a Vedic meditation teacher and leadership coach with over 12 years of devoted study and teaching experience. He works with people who struggle with anxiety, insomnia, mind chatter, racing thoughts, and overthinking, and those who would like to stress less, sleep better, focus clearly, feel calm under pressure, and work in productive flow. Sounds like what we need in today's world. With a background in engineering, he's able to break down complex meditation concepts and Eastern philosophy for his clients to easily understand. Because of this, his clients experience consistent results, including better sleep, calm, clear thinking, higher productivity, and improved relationships. They feel empowered with a new tool, inspired to meditate daily, and supported in their new practice. Speaking from experience, I have witnessed this. Hunter's been my teacher in meditation, and he does one-on-ones and offers a variety of other offerings such as retreats and things like that, but I'll let him get going here. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, Talia. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. It's nice to see and connect with so many of you during this time. And while we're chatting, I'll take you through some exercises. We'll do some discussion. I'll share some knowledge with you as well. And throughout all of this, if you have questions that come up, just go ahead and leave them in the comments in the chat there, and I'll take a look at them come through. And we'll definitely save some time for some Q&A at the end, so we can open this up to your questions and address anything that's coming up for you more specifically. Wonderful. So also, if you have a notepad, a notebook, and a pen, and you want to take some notes, you're more than welcome to do that as well, if anything's resonating with you. So I'm going to take you through a few different areas here to really cover all areas of addressing anxiety, so we can find what's going to work best for you, because every unique person has a unique body, a unique system, and there are different ways that we can kind of enter into it depending on where you're at and what type of symptoms of anxiety might be coming up for you. So we'll go through that. And to start out, I'm going to take you through just a quick exercise so that we can get ourselves present, we can get ourselves grounded and in this moment before we dive further into it. So really, this process is going to take us through something that I like to call ROC, which is relax, open, and connect. It's the ROC formula. So to relax and open up and connect, we're going to start first with a calming breath, and then we'll do what's called box breathing. We'll do some body scanning and begin identifying some other things that we're feeling, both physically and emotionally, and end it with some gratitude. So calming breath is really simple, and the calming breath is something you can do pretty much anytime in the middle of the day. Anytime you feel anxious or a sense of panic or shortness of breath, your heart is beating, your palms are sweating, this is a really great tool to just really de-excite the nervous system. And what's important about this breath is to, first of all, make sure that you're breathing from your diaphragm and your lower abdomen rather than your chest. If you're having shortness of breath or holding your breath and breathing from your chest, it actually begins to activate the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight state where the mind is racing, the mind is scattered and overthinking, and the heart is beating, and cortisol and adrenaline are pumping through the bloodstream. And what we want to do is deactivate that fight or flight state by activating the vagus nerve that runs down the spinal column. And the way that we can do that is by breathing from the lower diaphragm and the lower abdomen to push against the vagus nerve in the lower spine with the breath. So that's one piece of it. And the other piece of it is to, when we do the inhales, to hold for a few seconds before we do the exhales. And we'll inhale through our nose, hold for a couple seconds, and then we'll exhale out the mouth. And when you exhale out the mouth, you want to do it in such a way where it's like you're breathing, exhaling through a straw. So your lips are pursed. And that allows you to extend the breath, the exhale, a little bit longer than the inhale, which is what we want. So let's give it a try. You can do this with the eyes open or closed, whatever you feel comfortable with. So first start just by exhaling all of the stale air from your lungs as it is. And then slowly inhale for count of 4, 3, 2, 1. And then hold at the top for 1, 2. And then exhale out the mouth for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, inhaling through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 1, 2, and then exhaling out the mouth for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for 1, 2, and exhale out the mouth for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do it one more time. Inhaling through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding for 1, 2, and exhaling out the mouth for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So immediately that can start creating some calmness. You can do a few rounds of that, and then we'll move into boxed breathing. This you can do with your eyes closed, sitting comfortably with your back supported in a chair, wherever you are. And with boxed breathing, it's very simple. I'll explain it first. Some of you may have tried this. This was done, the Navy SEALs do this when they're in action. You can do this while you're doing things and in activity. It helps you to keep you calm and regulated while you're engaging in activity. And it's very simple. You just start with an inhale for count of 4, and then you hold for count of 4, and then you exhale for count of 4, and then you hold for count of 4, and then inhale again for count of 4. Like that, it creates sort of a box, right? With a count of 4 for the inhales, holding the breath, exhales, holding the breath, inhales, holding the breath, exhale, holding the breath. And you can do that for a number of minutes while you're in activity. Maybe you're doing some writing or reading a book or going for a walk or writing an email, washing the dishes, doing the laundry, taking a shower. It's a nice way if you do that for a few minutes. It really helps to get our breathing going in a nice rhythm and keeps the nervous system calm. So let's do a minute or two of box breathing. So go ahead and sit comfortably and close the eyes. And again, just let all that air out. Exhale. And then begin to inhale for count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding for 1, 2, 3, 4. Now exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding for 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding. And exhale. Holding. And inhale. Holding. And exhaling. Holding. And inhaling. Holding. And exhale. Hold. And inhale. Hold. And exhale. Hold. And inhale. Hold. And exhale. Go ahead and let go of the box breath, breathing naturally. Natural inhales and exhales. From here, let's get into our bodies with a nice body scan. So go ahead and close the eyes. And bring your awareness to the bottom of your feet. Begin at your toes. Notice all of your 10 toes. The soles of your feet. And the tops of your feet. Your heels. And ankles. And just relaxing your feet as we move our awareness upward to your calves and shins, letting go of any tension. And now your knees. Noticing your thighs, releasing any tension there may be. And your hips, letting go. Now we'll come to our fingertips, relaxing all of our fingers. Noticing the palms of the hands. The backs of your hands. Wrists. Forearms. Elbows. Upper arms. And relaxing your shoulders, letting go of all the tension. And now your chest. Relaxing your abdomen. Around to your lower back. Releasing all of the tension in your mid-back and upper back. Relaxing your neck. Your chin. Jaw. Let that jaw go, all the tension and muscles in your face, in your lips, nose, eyes. Lots of tension in our eyes. All that screen time. Just observing it, letting go what you can, releasing the tension, letting the eyes relax. And the ears. And your forehead. And now the back of your head. And the top of your head. And whenever you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes. Take your time. So with that, those two different breath techniques and that nice body scan, getting really into our bodies, allows us to start relaxing and opening up. And in that relaxed, open state, we want to do that third step of the ROC, or the rock method, which is connect. And there's a few different ways that you can connect. It can be helpful to practice this with somebody you might live with, maybe someone in your family or a roommate. If you're living alone, or if you don't feel comfortable doing this with the person you live with, then you can do this in your journal and have it reflected there in writing. Or you can call up a friend and do this with somebody over the phone. And all we need to do is really simple. We do a check-in with ourselves. We do a physical and an emotional check-in. So the first thing is we just notice what's going on in our bodies. And I'll model it for you. We don't necessarily need to do this now as a group, but I'll model it for you so you understand how it is. And then you can practice it on your own. So if I'm doing this with other people in a group, I would say it out loud. If I was alone, then I would just sit down and journal this. And it goes like this. Hunter checking in. I'm feeling calm, grounded. I feel the softness of this rug under my feet. I feel the taste of tea on my palate. I feel the warmth of this light shining on my face. Emotionally, I feel open and connected. I feel grateful to be healthy and safe and available to connect with everyone here today. I'm here and I'm in. So it goes like that. It's really simple. You're just basically checking in. How do I feel, both physically and emotionally? And it gets us really present. It also is helpful when you're doing it with someone you live with or a loved one. Being witnessed in how you're feeling, both physically and emotionally, is a really beautiful way to connect. It can feel kind of vulnerable at first. But the thing about vulnerability is that it's integrity, right? It's acknowledging where you're at right here and now. And this is important to do. We don't want to ignore what we're experiencing. We want to acknowledge whatever it is, and not judge it as good or bad, but simply acknowledge it for simply being. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. And the beauty of being human is that we have this vast spectrum of emotions that we get to experience throughout life. And these emotions that we move through, whether it's fear or anxiety or sadness or anger or fatigue or frustration or boredom or guilt or shame, what have you, all of this is a part of our humanity. And none of it is permanent. It is all temporary. It's very important to acknowledge that, to accept whatever is coming, know that it's temporary, and let it move through. All emotion is energy in motion. Emotion, that's what it is. It's energy in motion. So it's coming through and it's coming out. And the beauty of giving yourself time to first relax and open up and connect gives that emotion to process through fully and completely so that it doesn't stagnate or get stuck. And what anxiety is a lot of worry, a lot of anticipation, a lot of speculation. It's a lot of projection, mind moving in the future. It's a lot of that being translated into a physical printout of stress in the physiology. So anxiety is both in the mind and the body. And when you have too much of this worry in the mind, then it creates this in the body on a physiological level. Anytime we have a demanding experience, right? We like to call it a stressful experience. What's interesting, though, is that there actually are no stressful experiences. There are no stressful places, stressful people, or anything like that. There are demanding experiences, demanding places, demanding people, right? The stress is actually a response to the demand. And when we recognize that, then the onus is on us, right? It's actually our responsibility to realize that we have the power to adapt to demands that come our way by allowing our nervous system to be able to process it more effectively. And how do we do that? Well, we have to get out of that fight or flight mode on a consistent basis. Being stuck in that fight or flight mentality actually it's what causes the stress to get stuck and accumulate in the nervous system over time. So we just relax, we open up, we connect, and then the stress is able to now release from our physiology. And so we're starting to take care of the physiological aspect of stress when we're coming out of fight or flight, getting into a state of rest and digest by activating that vagus nerve, which causes the parasympathetic nervous system to activate. And this is where we start noticing that our heart rate begins to slow down, our breathing begins to relax and slow down. We notice that we're not as sweaty. Our palms aren't clammy as much. The mind is able to relax and be more present. Cortisol levels, that's the stress hormone in the body, begins to drop as well. And then from that calmer place, it becomes much easier to interact with whatever demand is coming your way. The brain is now operating a little bit more clearly in that relaxed state. The prefrontal cortex in the brain, in the front of the brain, which is your executive function, it's where all of your logical decision making is happening, is now able to process more efficiently in that relaxed state so that you can see more clearly how you need to make better decisions. And there's less hesitation. You're less worried about the future and you're more present to what is and addressing it and taking each moment as it comes. So this is important to practice these techniques to reduce the anxiety so that you can move through the world and handle these demands a bit more easily. And right now the demands have just increased significantly. So much change to adapt to equals increased demand. And it feels more stressful, right? Our experience of it, the pain point is the anxiety. But in actuality, it's really just needing to, if we get down to the root of it, it's being able to process stress more effectively so that we can handle the new stuff that's coming our way. And so what we want to do in addition to these practices, what we're doing from a more spiritual perspective, Eastern wisdom perspective, is what we're doing is creating wholeness within our entire experience of human consciousness. So there are 5 layers of human consciousness from the Vedic perspective, which comes from ancient India. It's universal knowledge of nature, our innate nature as human beings. And these 5 layers, the first one includes the physical body. We call these 5 koshas, or five bodies of human consciousness. So the outermost layer is our physical body. And within the physical body, we have an energetic body. That's where there is movement of emotions and thoughts. And those thoughts show up in the mind, which is the third body, the mental body. And within the mind, the mental body, we have 4 different layers of the mind. The first layer of the mind is our memory. Our memory develops through the repeated input of stimulus through our 5 senses over and over and over again, right? Our memories develop over time as we grow from children into adults through repeated input of stimulus again and again and again. And then with that repeated input, we also develop an identity. When we're born into the world, we don't have so much of a clear individual identity yet. For those of you who have young children or remember hanging out with young children, I have 2 nephews and a niece, and one of my nephews is only a few months old, and it's beautiful just to watch him develop his neurology, through all the repeated inputs of the sound of his mother and father's voice. And now he's developing his eyesight more, and you can see that his brain is starting to grow, and he's starting to recognize sounds in people's faces. And as he's growing older, the next few years, his identity, his individuality is going to start developing. So then that comes. And then we have a third layer of the mind, which is our intellect. The intellect develops to help us process and understand information, and how things relate to each other, and how to share information, how to tell story. The intellect is a really great observer and a note taker, and a processor of information to then share it again. The 4th layer of the mind is higher intelligence. And this 4th layer of the mind, for many of us, lies dormant because we live in a society that doesn't support the growth of it. And we live in a society that causes a lot of stress to accumulate in our physiology, which overshadows our ability to have connection and access to that higher intelligence. And that higher intelligence, for those of us who, probably many of us have had tastes of it and moments of it in life where, you feel fully present and completely in flow with life, such that everything is coming to you spontaneously without you having to try at all. There's synchronicity after synchronicity showing up for you. You think of someone and suddenly they call you 2 minutes later. Or, it could be those moments where suddenly an insight, an intuitive insight, or some knowledge just comes to you out of nowhere, and you're not sure why. It comes from within. These are moments that we're getting glimpses of that higher intelligence, which is coming from the 4th layer of our human consciousness, which is our wisdom body. Within our physical body, within our energetic emotional body, within our mental mind body, we have a wisdom body. And again, it's that stress that cakes on over and over again that really disconnects us from it. But then as we go through the rock method, the relax, open, and connect, then it starts to come through more consistently. And we intuitively start feeling how to make good decisions in our life. We intuitively know what the right thing to do is. And it starts coming to us more and more. We just get these insights. The world becomes a lot clearer when we can access that wisdom body. And then the more we do that, then the more we start tapping into the fifth layer of human consciousness, which is the bliss body. This is that innermost layer which comes beyond, by transcending all layers of the body. We experience our most innate nature, which is pure bliss. Pure bliss is really the source of all of our experience. And how can we even verify that? Well, with enough meditation practice, it'll come. But we can also verify it by, looking back to where we came from, right? When we're children. What are children like? Children are incredibly happy and blissful for no reason at their baseline. And that is our nature too. We lose sight of it as we get older and grow. Because of the stress that accumulates through, first academics typically, and maybe challenges through family relationships at home. Some people go through trauma, all different kinds of experiences as we get older. This life experience really just stays with us and gets lodged in our nervous system until we begin to release it. And then the bliss starts to come back. And so again, what we're wanting to do is to create wholeness within all 5 layers and integrate them together: the physical, the energetic, the mental, the wisdom, and the bliss, all of it simultaneously. And so it's about creating some consistent practice and using the calming breath, the box breath, doing some body scans, checking in with your body. What do you physically feel? What's coming up for you emotionally? Acknowledging it, recognizing it, accepting it, reflecting that either through journaling or doing this exercise with a friend. It's super helpful to be witnessed in this, and it begins to release the stress very gradually. It's also nice to then start reframing your neural pathways and your mental patterning by putting your attention on what you wish to grow. And what we wish to grow are, the things that we feel grateful for. So once you do this, rock method, at the end, it's nice to, do a list, write down what you're feeling grateful for. Write 3 things down in this moment. Right now I'm feeling grateful for my mom for being on this call. She's such a wonderful person, and we have such a great relationship. And the fact that she tunes into these things that I offer is just such a wonderful thing. So I'm incredibly grateful for family. I'm incredibly grateful for living across the street from a park, to be able to go outside and enjoy some, sunlight and greenery during these times when we need to shelter in place. I'm grateful for all you for saying yes and connecting here today. It feels wonderful to connect with people, even though we aren't able to connect physically in person. There's still some really great benefit to this, so I'm happy for that. Already I'm feeling even more uplifted by sharing that. So definitely make that a daily practice. And what all of this is going to do is begin to reduce your anxiety, reduce the panic, and allow you to move closer into a state of fearlessness. Fearlessness is something that develops gradually over time. It first shows up as the will, the drive to do something perhaps you haven't done before, right? Something inside of you is encouraging you to step into the unknown. And through stepping into the unknown, is an act of courage. So first we experience that courage. And then the more you do that, the more fearless you become. I'll tell you a little story. personal story about developing fearlessness. Um, it begins 11 years ago. I lived in New York City for 10 years, now based in San Francisco. And I grew up here in the Bay Area. And on a whim one day after I graduated from college, I bought a one-way ticket and left for New York because something inside of me was telling me to go there. My mind couldn't make any sense of it, didn't make any logical sense, but something inside of me said that's what you have to do. And at that time, I hadn't been meditating yet. I had just graduated with an engineering degree. I was super over analytical and really very much in my head, had acute anxiety and chronic anxiety and acute insomnia, had horrible time sleeping. And for whatever reason, that wisdom came through all of that. And so I decided to listen to it. So I leaped into the unknown, and it was nerve-wracking, but also that anxiety started turning into excitement. So I was able to reframe it by leaping into the unknown and making it an adventure. And it got me super present because I had no idea what was coming. I couldn't anticipate it. All I could do was take each moment as it came. And what it did is buying that one-way ticket, following that intuition, it allowed for me to get in that flow state where suddenly things were just coming into place one after the other. So immediately after I bought that ticket, my friend reached out and said, hey, you can stay at my place, because I had no idea where I was going to stay when I got there. So I had somewhere to land as soon as I got there. So I stayed with my friend and immediately had to look for work. So I went out for some interviews, and as I'm walking down the street to go to this office for an interview, my friend, I run into an old friend on the street who just moved from New York from DC, and she had studied politics, and she was, we connected again. She was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm looking for a job," and she hooked me up with a temp job that day. And then I went to a party that night to meet some new people, make some new friends. And the first new friend I made happened to be a Vedic meditation teacher. And then a couple weeks later, I ended up learning from him. Because what happened was that flow state, after a couple of days being in New York, it faded away. And I was stuck in my head again. And all the anxiety started coming back. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got a taste of that. And it was so good. I want it back. I want more of that. And so I knew, okay, I needed to develop some kind of daily practice to help me develop that flow state. And so I ended up learning Vedic meditation, which is this mantra-based technique where you receive a personalized mantra or sound, sitting really comfortably, and you repeat the sound silently in the mind, and it becomes softer, subtler, and fainter, and a bit more quiet. And it allows the mind to transcend very effortlessly with no focus, no concentration. And very quickly after a couple of weeks of this practice, I was sleeping like a baby and feeling happy for no reason. So it created a big shift for me in reducing anxiety very quickly. And so after a couple of years of this, where life just started growing and blossoming in this beautiful way where I was able to get back into that flow state day in and day out through the practice. And my career started to blossom, and I was able to come fresh to work and feel super productive, and then let go of all the stress from the work day and feel really present at home after work. Doing that day in and day out, I felt like this experience of very, very much thriving. I wasn't surviving, but really thriving. And life got so good, I just really wanted to share this with more people. And so I let go of my entire life yet again, leaped into the unknown for a second time, and embarked on a 3-month teacher training in the Himalayas of India, where I was taught how to teach this technique of Vedic meditation. And then that was 6 years ago, and I've been teaching ever since then. And then more recently, I leaped into the unknown again, moved back to the West Coast to be closer with family and grow the meditation community out here. So again and again, we find ourselves in the unknown all the time. And it's so important to embrace it. It's such a great opportunity to embrace the change. There's a saying, nature knows best how to organize. And really what that is surrendering and letting go of any kind of individual agenda to control the outcomes that are in front of us, to make sure that the timing of certain things works out. And when we apply too much control, it creates a lot of stress and strain, and ultimately turns into suffering. And the fear of the unknown comes up because we're attempting to control it and it's not working. But when we sweetly surrender and let go and allow nature to organize it, then it allows us to become more present, and we can feel into our fine level feeling, that intuition. And when we listen to that and let that guide us, then we're in the right place at the right time. So rather than operating from the head, we need to be operating from the heart. And what also helps with fear of the unknown and the anxiety of not knowing what's coming is to let go of the need to know, right? We don't need to know what's happening, what's coming specifically. If we trust that nature knows best how to organize, then, it's okay to feel like you don't know. We live in a culture that teaches us that we have to know everything, what's happening, come up with an answer. And, part of that is good. It's good to be curious and to inquire and to seek and explore. This is important. But we don't want it to get to a point where it's creating, stress and anxiety and fear around what's coming. And then another thing about anxiety and fear of the unknown is we want to also make sure that we're being aware of our triggers too in our environment. There's so much stimulus coming in, and we need to understand, okay, well, what's causing us to have more anxiety? Am I watching too much news? Am I chatting with a friend who is just really pessimistic and it's getting me down? Pay attention to that. Be more aware of that. And as you become aware of it, then start playing with your boundaries and knowing, how much is right for you to consume and not consume. Super, super important. Be mindful of your media. And then too, in this process of change that's happening, a lot of times our sense of self, our sense of being gets rocked, right? Because what happens is, as we grow older, we start to identify with only part of our whole 5 layers of human consciousness. We tend to identify with just the physical body, or just our emotions and our thoughts, right? Just the outer 3 layers. And we forget about the wisdom and the bliss that's unbounded and unconditional within us. We lose sight of it. And when we lose sight of that, and we know that our physical body and our emotional body and our mental body is constantly changing, then our sense of self is constantly ungrounded. It's turbulent. And then when the world at large is changing a lot, then that's going to, disturb it even more. It's like thinking of consciousness, our mind and our body and energy, all of it is like the ocean, right? And so our mind is at the surface of the ocean, and it's being rocked around the surface from one thought to the next. And what we want to do is ground it with an anchor by sinking inward, where there's that grounded stability at the bottom of the ocean. That's unbounded consciousness. That's what we want to tap into when we start to relax and we open up and connect. Now, the most effective way to do this that I've found has been Vedic meditation. So if that's something you want to explore, I'm happy to dive into that with you at another time, but we don't have enough time to do that for today. It takes a few days of training to really hone that skill. But for now, the rock method will be a great way to start. So I definitely recommend sticking with that. When we have that grounded sense of self that's unshakable within, that's unbounded, then as the changes are happening outside of us, we're not rocked as easily, because we're constantly coming back to that one unconditional place of happiness all of the time. And then that's where the courage develops. So as we move towards fearlessness, first we get over our anxiety and we calm down the panic. We get deep rest by relaxing, opening up, and connecting. And then we start getting the courage to step into the unknown again. And we begin to play with that. And we'll get rocked a little bit in the process, but we just keep coming back to it. And we build our courage to become fearless. And the more we do that, then And the more that we're connecting and creating wholeness within all 5 layers of consciousness, then the more that bliss begins to permeate, not just in our process of de-exciting, relaxing, and opening up, but then eventually with our eyes open, where we start to notice that we're very much connected to everything around us. We don't feel so much separation anymore. The Eastern worldview, the Vedic worldview, is that everything is all connected as one thing. Everything is all part of one thing. Yes, we, on an individual level, we experience this multiplicity and the contrast and difference between all things. And that is a layer of reality, but within and underneath all of that is this unbounded oneness. And so the more that you are able to experience that consistently twice a day with meditation or this rock method, then as you open the eyes after that, you start feeling not just more connected with yourself, but more connected with everything around. And that connection begins to dissolve away the appearance of something that is separated other than the other. All right, there we go. I think we're on mute now. So the more that we can experience that connection outside of us, the more it begins to diminish the sense of otherness outside of us. And the media basically wants to create as much otherness as possible, right? Some separation. And what we want to bring is that value of connection and unity. And the more you do that, the more you'll just automatically become fearless, because there's nothing separate from yourself. Kind of a big idea. I would love to hear your comments and questions. What would you like to ask me? What would you like to know more about? What would you like to discuss on this topic of cultivating fearlessness in a time of great fear? Marlene, I use this box breathing technique to get over a phobia of driving on bridges, which I had for many, many years. Fantastic. That's wonderful to hear. Marlene, how do we connect with the 4th and 5th layers, the wisdom and the bliss body? Yeah, so the most effective, direct way to do that I've been able to find is through Vedic meditation. To learn Vedic meditation requires a 4-day training course where we would meet for 1 to 2 hours each day. And that would teach you the technique where you would receive a personalized mantra. Different mantras work better for different people. And so you'll receive a personalized one that has no meaning. It's a very simple sound. And what mantra means is mind, vehicle. Man means mind, tra means vehicle. So it's a sound that brings the mind from one experience to another. And in this case, it brings the mind from an active state, on the surface of the ocean, inward beneath the surface into these subtler states of awareness, and settles the mind into this deeply rested state where your physiology begins resting deeper than sleep. And it's this profound, deep rest that allows for deep-rooted stresses to come out of the nervous system. And then that's what opens up our ability to connect with the wisdom and bliss body inside. And so that just starts coming automatically from doing that technique. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please reach out, and I'm happy to set up some time to do that with you. Great. What else? Which method did I study in India? And can I type it out? Yeah, Vedic meditation is what we call it here in the West. And yeah, it's that mantra-based technique. Um, very simple, natural, effortless. Kathy, any techniques for quickly getting rid of anger when it comes on? Yes. Doing one of these breathing techniques, the calming breath, is really helpful. And then after you do the calming breath, doing a body scan, or you can just go straight to physical and emotional feeling and just recognizing and acknowledging, okay, where in my body am I feeling the anger? Identify it physically and acknowledge that where it is, wherever it might be. And if you have a safe space with someone you can do this with and you feel safe with them to do this, where they can hold space without giving advice, without telling you what to do, but simply witnessing and listening to you, you can just let them know, like, hey, this is what I'm feeling right now. And just acknowledge what you're feeling, speak from I. And then you can express also what you want. Express how you feel and express what you want. And being witnessed in that way, whether it's directed towards them or not, it doesn't need to be directed towards this person, but it's just for them to witness you. There's something powerful in that when we are able to witness each other and what we're feeling and what we want. And it'll help calm and diffuse it. There are, other approaches to releasing anger in kind of a deeper way, but this is an initial place to begin. Doing the calming breath and then coming into recognition and acceptance. Great. What else? Any techniques for insomnia or waking up in the middle of the night? From Shanna, yes. Doing the body scan works really nicely. There's another layer to it that you can do. So when you're lying in bed with your eyes closed, all cozy, and your mind starts racing and you're having trouble falling asleep, then you do a body scan. You can start at the top of the head and scan downward if you wish, and then back the other direction. And while you're doing that, you want to become aware of all the prominent sensations throughout your physical body. Noticing where there's tension, where there's different feelings, and just be aware of all of that. And then of all of the sensations you feel throughout your physical body while you're lying there in bed, bring your awareness to the most prominent sensation. Perhaps it's, some tightness in, your right shoulder. And so you leave your attention where the sensation is on your right shoulder. And it may, intensify as it's highlighted with your awareness, but just leave your attention there for about 3 minutes or so. And just your simplest form of awareness will begin to ease the sensation. And you keep doing that for a few minutes and then you'll go out. You could do that in the middle of the night too, if you wake up. Body feeling technique is very helpful. Yes. Great. Anything else? Oh yeah, so Michelle's asking, in the box method, the inhales and exhales through the mouth or the nose. You can do it through the nose, the inhales and the exhales. If obviously if you have a stuffy nose, do it out of your mouth, but do what you can. And in and out of the nose for the box breath works well. And then for the calming breath, it's in through the nose and out through the mouth. Great. Anything else? Oh, book recommendations. Yes, I have a great reading list on my website. My website is themodernmind.com. And if you go over to the tab that says Knowledge Library, under that you'll see a few different blog posts and stories, including recommended reading lists. And in there you'll find a variety of books on a variety of subject matters, including more science-based reading, as well as lifestyle practices, as well as some more traditional Vedic texts. So yeah, feel free to go through there and check out whatever sounds most interesting to you. And if you have any questions about books, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to discuss. Wonderful. Am I visiting New York anytime? I was actually planning to. at some point this spring or summer. And for whatever reason, I wasn't feeling compelled to buy a ticket. And now I know why. So, yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. We'll take it as it comes. Perhaps this summer. Um, we'll see how things go over the next couple months. Possibly June. It might be too soon though. If not, then perhaps in the fall. But we'll definitely make a time to visit so I can see you guys in person out there. And then for those of you who are in Marin or San Francisco, once quarantine's over, we'll definitely have plenty of ways to connect in person as well. So definitely be in touch if you wish to be in touch. Great. I think that's it for our time for today. Thank you guys so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to be here. I hope you learned something from this. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to connect with you. You can also just let Talia know as well, and she can put us in touch. You can connect with me through my website, themodernmind.com. And take care of yourselves. I'm by the end of this week, I'm going to put out a new article on 9 tips for boosting your immune system. So keep an eye out for that. If you want to subscribe to my mailing list, you can do that through themodernmind.com, and I'll send that out. I also post a lot of great tips and recommendations through my Instagram channel, which is the handle for that is The Modern Mind. So you can check that out as well. Again, take care, be well, and be in touch, and I will see you next time.